But it's time that we focus on a set of earnings which will release Britannia, a very, very good set of numbers. Net profits, in fact, are up about 2.8 times. Varun, the Managing Director of Britannia Industries, joins in. Hi, sir. Thanks much for joining in. While the results have been very strong operationally this time around, the volume growth seems to have not impressed the street that much. Could you elaborate on how the volumes have fared this quarter?
Two-thirds of our revenue growths are coming out of volumes. So it's been a quarter with good volume growths. And we are very happy with that, because the underlying the health of the business is determined by volume growth.
All right. Hi, Mr. Berry. Thanks so much for joining in. The street was working with some margin expansion. This given the fact that, in fact, we have seen input costs going down. Could you take us through that?
So actually the gross margins last year were really good, because this was probably the period of in the last financial year when the commodity costs were really at the lowest ebb, and that's the reason for gross margins to contract a little bit. But we've more than made up by making sure that our fixed costs have been under control. Yes, as we go forward, the gross margins could become better, but we are not going to give you any forward forecast on that, please.
Fair enough, actually. But, on another point, this is a third consecutive quarter when we've seen a contraction in absolute ad spends for your company. So this has raised some worries. Now, given the new set of launches that we've seen recently, is this trend of declining ad spend sustainable?
So what we are doing as far as the ANSP is concerned is we are trying to weed out all the expenses which do not give us a long-term growth on our business. So basically, if you see what's happening on the media, I'm sure you'll see a lot more of Britannia than you've ever seen in the before. So you certainly, if you're seeing more Britannia on media, what we've done is we've cut out some of the spends that we were doing which were not giving us the desired results.
Okay, then just to stay with that point for a tad bit longer, ad spends as a percentage of sales has now slipped to around 7%, or that's one of the lowest ever. Should this be the trajectory which investors should build with regard to the ad spend, something like around 7-8% of sales?
Well, I won't give you a future number, but yes, certainly it's going to go up from where it is today. And that's going to get reflected with all the new innovation that is going to come on board.
Mr. Berry, I do agree that we're seeing a lot more of Britannia, but one sore point is, and bear with me because I'm only voicing the concerns of the analysts, is the loss of market share. So you were actually the industry leader almost a decade back. Then as a company, Britannia fell behind on launches, but that scenario now seems to be changing as a trend, and you seem to have improved your market share in the last few quarters. So could you tell us what the market share of Britannia has now improved to?
At least for the last 7 quarters we've been gaining market share, and that's pretty evident from the fact that the market's growing at a certain level, and we've been growing almost double of that. The market is growing in single digits, mid-single digits, and you know what our growths are in revenue terms. We are hoping that we are able to keep this momentum going on our business.
All right, so while the margins have been very strong for the past 4-5 quarters, but one of the concerns is that once that high base effect starts to kick in, will it be difficult to maintain this margin trajectory at current levels? Will these levels be sustainable going forward as well?
I'm not going to give you any future forecasts. Wait and watch is all I can say.
Okay. And Mr. Berry, we also have this option whereby some of our viewers can write to us, investors in your company, and the questions that they want to pose to you. So we have Nikhil Rao, who's written to us from Mumbai. He wants to know what kind of price hikes have been undertaken by your company, and will you be looking to pass on the benefits of softening input costs onto the consumers?
So the input cost, the material price increases that we've seen, the inflation that we've seen on material price is about 7 to 8% in the first half. What we passed on to the consumers is lower than that, and we will hopefully contain whatever is the inflation, make sure that we contain our price increases within that number. we will continue to do that to make sure that we do not pass on anything more than what is required to the consumers.
All right, thanks Mr. Berry so much for joining in and giving us all those details with regard to Britannia. But the Sensex is calling for our attention because yet again we are at all-time high. So you just pull up the Bank Nifty, you'll see the Bank Nifty in fact has taken off because the likes of ICICI Bank,